who were more commercial and on TV more. But Big Ben was a great quarterback. He's a Hall of Famer. There's no question. It was different. He was like he had some Cam Newton qualities off script. Big arm. You get to Super Bowls and win them. You hoist the trophy. You're a different level. So he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's got a podcast called Footballin' with Ben. And here's the thing about Ben, is that he left. How's the offense been? And for years and years, the media, hey, they would take Le'Veon Bell's side or they would take the AB's side. They won when AB left. It was fine. They've won games. And, when Le'Veon Bell left, those were good players. But when Ben left, the franchise now offensively is not competent. It's just a bad offense. Nothing's good. And they've got better players than I think their data would illustrate. I think Mike Tomlin's a very good coach, but I think they have an identity on offense, and it's not a good one. I'll get to that in a second. But here's Big Ben talking about the story that Russell Wilson now may be inserted in as a starter for Justin Fields, who's 4-2.
I would absolutely not even think about taking him out of the game right now. I would keep him in there, and even if he has a bad game, I would keep him in there because right now they're rolling. Yeah, they lost 2. They got this win, but I think he's playing well enough. I think he's doing enough. You saw with his legs especially, making things happen, creating.
Yeah, so Ben knows offense. We're going to take his word for it. And he understands, again, constant change is not the answer. So a lot of this with Russell and Justin Fields, I concentrated a lot of the personalities. It is a weird quarterback room. Russell is very brand aware, almost corporate and commercial. He's always got a saying. It's "Go Hawks," Mr. Unlimited, let's ride. There's always sort of a saying with it. And Justin Fields is chill. He doesn't even have a brand. Doesn't appear to be that interested in it. Just a nice kid, authentic. Everybody likes him. But here's the thing. Great offenses, and all of you know this, they have an identity. When I think of Kansas City, I think of clever, innovative, and really resourceful. Kansas City squeezes every bit of juice out of the orange. Very resourceful. When I think of San Francisco and Kyle Shanahan, physical. It all starts with physicality. Like Kansas City, clever, maybe not as resourceful, but very, very clever and very lean into physicality. So the Steelers have an identity, too. And this is apparently something they're attracted to. 2 quarterbacks that get sacked a lot, run more than they should, that aren't very good from the pocket, and are on one-year deals. That's basically the Steelers' idea of quarterback. Neither is great in the pocket. Film shows you that. They're the most 2-sack quarterbacks in the league the last 2 years. They hold on to the ball too long. They run too much. That's why at times, Justin Fields gets banged up a lot. The offensive lines aren't good at Pittsburgh. And they have running back talent, but they never seem to run the ball with authority. So they look at these 2 guys who hold on to the ball, get sacked too much, aren't great from the pocket, run too often, and of what works. It's just not. So they've got an identity, but what they really don't know is offense. This does not win in 2024. Getting sacked a lot, running too much, bad from the pocket. It doesn't win. So you could say, well, they don't have an offensive identity. The franchise has an identity. And that tells you, that illustrates Tomlin's excellence. Their defense has an identity. Tough, physical, resilient. Their organization has a philosophy. Draft and develop over big spending. Again, tough, physical, draft well, developed, resilient. So the brand has an identity. The defense under Tomlin has an identity. And the offense has one too. But it's the opposite of what wins today. Quarterbacks who are weak from the pocket or weaker than league average, run too much, get hurt, get sacked too much behind bad O-lines. So don't tell me they don't have an identity. That's what they think works since Big Ben left. J-Mac with the news.
No.
Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Let's start with the Detroit Lions and Aiden Hutchinson. That injury was brutal. It kind of marred the blowout of the Cowboys on Sunday. Hutchinson was the favorite for the Defensive Player of the Year award, and many speculate he could hold the Lions back from getting to a Super Bowl. Head coach Dan Campbell vehemently disagrees.
Well, I mean, we can stop playing. You want to just end the season now? We can do that. Let's just call it up. No, it's not over. This is why you go through all the training you do, and this is why we stress all the time here, and the players know this. Now, we play with 3 phases here, and we will find a way to play any game and every game and find a way to win, and because that's all that matters.
They're going to be fine, but he matters a lot. He matters a lot. We've seen 2 moves yesterday at the trade deadline on our show. You don't have to necessarily get somebody as good as Max Crosby, but I would consider making a move for something slightly below Max Crosby. I would consider it.
Look at those numbers Hutchison's put up this year. He is in the Watt-Garrett class.
Oh, no. He's separated from everybody except, like...
Micah Parsons is not on this level.
No,
sorry.
Micah Parsons is
a
not...
different beast.
Yeah, he's different.
So, Colin, I had a gambler on my podcast, and I'm talking about this. Like, we know quarterbacks are worth a touchdown, whatever, to the spread. Can you quantify what you think Hutchison's worth to the spread, if anything? Maybe he's not worth a point, maybe a quarter point or something.
Well, I don't consider him in betting terms. But what I do consider him is this is a powerful offense that plays with leads. Powerful offenses that have leads in the fourth quarter need pass rushers. When Bill Polian drafted Peyton Manning, he told me once, he goes, we knew we would lead in the fourth quarter in 90% of our games, and people would be throwing the ball. So what did they do? Dwight Freeney. They always had pass rushers. So when you find a franchise quarterback, that's job one. You find a franchise quarterback and you protect him and get him the right coach. If you have one, you will lead in the fourth quarter most games. Now your second thing to get is pass rushers. That's why the Raiders, I think, are reluctant to give up Max Crosby. Because if they land the right franchise quarterback in the draft, you play with a lead. You're not going to find another Max Crosby on the market. There's 5 great pass rushers in the whole league. One the Bosa family provides a couple of them. So I think it's easier to give up a wide receiver like Devontae Adams for the Raiders than Max Crosby. This team, that offensive line, those backs, Goff, Ben Johnson, who's going to lead them in the fourth quarter in big games? Maybe Green Bay, maybe San Francisco. You got to get a dude.
My read on that is you're, I guess, under qualifying what Hutchison means. Colin, forget about leads. This secondary has been torched a lot. Okay, we saw Geno Smith go up and down the field.
5 years.
Right. When you remove Hutchison, now there's no pass rush at all.
Yeah.
So now the secondary is really up the creek without a paddle.
I would call Jacksonville.
Make a run at Allen, or you could even go after Clowney on the Panthers. Clowney's not what he was, but he's somebody to get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
And
I think you'd have to give up too much for. I think Max Crosby gets a first, and I don't think you want, because I think next year, I don't think Detroit has a lot of needs. I mean, make this argument. When you look at Detroit, this is fascinating. When you look at Detroit, what do they need? Not a lot.
Well, the defense has been leaky. Colin.
Okay, but a lot of them are young and ascending. They don't have a big need.
Yeah.
Okay, so my take is you can give up a first-round pick. You can give it up.
You don't like to just give up a first.
Well, you wouldn't. Max Crosby
I'll give you 2 and a 6 for Crosby. Come on.
I'm not giving you Max Crosby for a 2 and a 6. 2 and a 3.
Maybe you need Max Crosby to lean on the Raiders. Get me the hell out of town.
Max Crosby is more valuable than Devontae Adams.
Right now, because of where Adams is, yeah.
The NFL draft gives you 1 great pass rusher a year. It gives you about 12 good receivers.
Yeah. The Lions have to do something. I'm sorry, Dan Campbell. I got to disagree.
I think the Detroit Lions have drafted so well with Holmes, the GM. They can give up a first-round pick. They don't have an absolute need. They got their tackles. They got their weapons. They got their quarterback. It's a okay quarterback draft. You're not going to go replace Goff or any of these guys in the draft. Give up your first rounder and go get an elite 3-year pass rusher. And when Hutch is back, you have 2.
Hutchinson's going to be out a while. That injury is pretty brutal. Yeah. He might not even start next season. We'll see. Anyways, moving on to second story. Remember that clip from Hard Knocks? Giants owner John Mara telling GM Joe Shane that he didn't want to lose Saquon Barkley to the Eagles. Well, that's exactly what happened. Saquon returns to New York this time. Little revenge game for Saquon Barkley. He said, I don't expect a great reaction. I don't expect to get booed. I look at it like this. The Eagles and the Giants have probably played over 200 games. This rivalry was there before me, and it's going to be there after me.
I like him so much. I like him. He's such a great player.
Make sense of this line
Every
for me,
time he
please.
talks, he says something smart. He really has handled this whole thing like a pro.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, Saquon is a pro.
I don't get why the Eagles are only 3-point favorites in this game. I'm just
I could 2 words. Nick Sirianni. The Giants have the better coach.
I got 2 words for you. Saquon Barkley. This is good. You know the whole Eagles team is going to be like, hey, you got to get revenge on these guys. They didn't want you. I anticipate like 175 yards of offense.
Yeah, Giants have major concerns.
Yeah.
Thibodeau's out.